What's going on, wrestling fans? It is I, Steve Fall, and I have lost my voice a little bit, but welcome to 10 Count on today's edition. I should have brought some garlic with me, but I have Gangrel with me. How are you doing today?
Going on, Steve? Fanging and banging. Want some, get some. Bad enough, take some. I'm here at CCW getting ready to run a class. Hopefully, there's not too much of an echo because it echoes in here when it's really quiet before everybody gets in here and it gets chaotic. And you got two rings full of young talent training to become future sports entertainer and pro wrestlers.
I love it so much. Now, let's talk about CCW for a second because that's down in Florida, and I know they're putting on great events, and you are a trainer in the facility, and I know there's big moves happening with CCW. Now, let's talk about that for a second because you are a man of many trades, and training wrestlers is obviously one of them, and also eating blood. But yet here we are talking about you creating the next line of sports entertainers and wrestlers. What's that like? It must be a great passion of yours.
Well, I'm super blessed to be able to do that. I'm blessed. I owe pro wrestling everything. Pro wrestling owes me nothing. So I always want to be able to give back to pro wrestling. And one start as that is able to give back to young women and men too, as they try to find the way and navigate themselves through this crazy world and this course of professional wrestling. So I'm blessed to be able to do it. It's an amazing feeling. I lived through them. I'm an energy vampire,
A different type of vampire. All right.
They come in full of piss and vinegar and they're ready to go. And then I feed off of that. And then I just, we welcome into the doors. It's like every new student that comes in, I see myself being able to correct my mistakes and stuff. So I live through them and also try to save them from crying in stairwells. Being so, down in the, just to try to help them not feel some of the things I had to feel to learn the stuff that I learned and experienced along my journey in professional wrestling. So,
of course,
it's amazing. CCW.
Let's talk about it.
I can't even keep track of it. These guys run about 150 shows a year, if not more now. I have no idea. They have 3 shows a weekend in 3 different states, 3 different counties. It's an amazing thing. They're starting up other projects. We just was in a meeting just now, going over a show with Kevin Sullivan and Elio for the Championship Wrestling for Florida brand that they have going too. So it's just craziness around here, and it's a good thing. But at the same, I was running to this meeting with you, and my brain is fried because I'm thinking about storylines and angles and this and that and talent and what talent's being used or underused or overused.
Of course, I imagine. But don't worry, we'll travel back in time and ask questions you most commonly are probably asked anyways. I need a rumor taken care of right now. When you had, those vampire teeth put in, the rumor, and according to Wikipedia, $10,000 a fang by the WWF. Is that true?
You're like the 5th person that's asked me that in 2 weeks.
You gotta ask.
No, they were bonded in. Here's the funny thing is that they were bonded in between 94 and 96, 97-ish. They came out. So they weren't they weren't bonded in when I was in WWE. They told me to use a vampire character when they hired me. They told me to lose weight, grow my hair in and go be as normal as I possibly can. So a week home under the contract sitting home, Vince Russo calls up and says, "Hey, can you still do that vampire character?" So I didn't have the fangs or anything. So I had to run out the Hot Topics real quick, find a puffy shirt, some suede pants in there. And then what's next to Hot Topic is Journeys. Went to Journeys and got some boots, some new rocks. And that's what you seen debut on the Sunday Night Heat, And
wow.
So then I went to different fangs. I don't have them in now because I was super unprepared for this. I apologize. Usually shades on and be in character, but I ran out of here. It's like, oh my God, it's 4:00. And I just didn't want to be one of those guys that didn't make his interview in time. They didn't cost $10,000 a fang. No. I could give you the history of the fangs if you want.
Give me the history. We need to know because Wikipedia is a liar, and so is research all over line.
So I started out as technically Lestat the Vampire in Puerto Rico, and those fangs from 90 to 94-ish were Lee press-on nails. So I would take a Lee press-on nail, size it up, super glue it on, cut it to a point, and paint it the color of my actual teeth. So for a good amount of years, I fried brain cells. I can't even tell you 4 or 5, maybe 5 years. I was super gluing teeth in, so I was huffing super glue for 5 years. Brain damage and why I jump all over my conversations. So from there, I had my bonded permanently. I had fangs permanently for a few years, and then WWE told me to get rid of them and whatnot. So eventually, I got rid of them. I went back to All Japan as David Heath. No fangs, nothing, just trunks. And on that tour, they hired me. WWF hired me, and told me they weren't going to do the vampire thing or anything. And then a week after being on contract, they decided to do the vampire thing. So I ended up having to get. It's a different type of fangs. They're specially made from a dentist. I still wear them. The same fangs since '98. Still, they're chipped. I got to get them touched every once in a while. I think they're pretty fresh right now. But I've been wearing them same fangs since '98 to now, whatever year we're in, 23.
Wow.
So, yeah, so they're very durable. They're titanium, and they set in much like a clasp over my teeth and stuff like that. So yeah, I've still been rocking those same fangs since '98 now.
My mind's been blown because my next question was going to be like, so when you go to the dentist, what the hell was that situation? But obviously you didn't have them in your mouth, so you didn't have to deal with that.
Which dentist? Which time?
I'm saying if you had the teeth in, like the real teeth, real fangs, and you went to the dentist, I can only imagine their faces being like, "I'm sorry, sir. What the hell's happening in your mouth?"
Well, I tend to go back to the dentist that put them in at that point, and then
It could be scary.
But they were quite comfortable, easy to eat with. They were just very subtle. But then Nashville was a dentist named Jody. He was friends with the Undertaker, so he didn't expect any. It was normal for me to walk in there and say, "Hey, I need some fangs," and he goes, "I got you, man."
I got a fang guy. I got a fang guy.
Back in touch with the cat though. Like he was good friends with the Undertaker, so it wasn't so bizarre for him.
That's crazy. And speaking of the Undertaker, you did eventually propel down from the scaffold at WrestleMania 15 with a noose to assist Undertaker hanging the big boss man on television, WrestleMania 15. Now, I imagine if I was up there propelling down, I would be crapping my pants a little bit because I know as they're going back up after you hang this noose, there's a moment of like, oh, I think I'm stuck. What's going on?
So it's WrestleMania weekend, and you get a memo saying you're not on WrestleMania, but you get a memo saying that you have a rehearsal on a Saturday morning. And you're like, rehearsal? What do we got a rehearsal for? We're not even in WrestleMania. What they do, add something. So you get kind of excited. You head down to the First Union Center, wherever in Philly there, and they say, "Oh, hey, you guys are going to come from a ceiling," and you look up, and you can't even see the ceiling. It's so far away. Talking about you're going to come from the ceiling. So they said, yeah, you're going to come down with these harnesses at the top of the cage. You're going to peel it up and hang the big boss man. So we're going to hang the big boss man. And then I go from the ceiling. Like I was more concerned about the ceiling part. And man, it was scary. It was terrifying. We did one rehearsal, and I remember sitting there just holding on at the edge of the beams. I wouldn't let go. You gotta let go so you could rappel down, holding on like a cat, like not wanting to go in the water or something. And went down, did the rehearsal. I was like, it wasn't so bad, I don't think, but then it changed on show day with all the energy at WrestleMania, and you're up there, you're trying to watch the match going on. They look like ants, they're so far down, and it's trying to go over that, and then went over, and that was cool. Almost missed the cage, like 1 foot, was 1 foot dangling, but got on the cage, unhooked the harnesses, ripped the cage up, dropped the rope down like we're supposed to do, and then we're going back up, all is fine and dandy, and then everything stops. The breakers blew. So Edge was stuck where everybody could see him. I was stuck in between sound and lighting. And Christian was back up there with his fingers just on the ledge, like almost up, almost all the way. And I was just terrified for a moment, thinking, man, if they come across these speakers, it's the arena speakers, you're right there in the center and stuff. I said, I'll never ever be able to hear again. And it was a scary moment. And then all of a sudden, everything started working again. But Edge, he got stuck down there, and there's a lot of pictures of him stuck. So
yes.
But it was an intense moment. We did one rehearsal and then we did it. And I was thinking, this is crazy. I'm a pro wrestler, not a stunt man, but it was a cool moment, and it's something I always talk about. So I was blessed with it,
Yes, forever. I think that would be your WrestleMania moment, because that is one of those things where, like, okay, Undertaker, Hell in a Cell against Big Boss Man. I'm sorry, he's gonna get hung. He's gonna be hanged, and the Brood's gonna assist. And that was crazy. And then eventually, to me, was really bizarre where the Brood, you, Edge, and Christian eventually joined the Ministry of Darkness. And to me, that was a little bizarre for me, because like, wait, you have two groups that are doing their own thing. Let's combine them. And it felt like it watered down the Brood for me as a fan watching at the time. But with WrestleMania rolling around a few weeks ago, there was rumors running around rampant that Gangrel and Christian and Edge were going to come down at WrestleMania and take on Finn Balor on Judgment Day. Was any of that true?
No.
Okay.
I believe it may have been pitched, but I never heard about it. I called Edge and said, "Hey, where'd all these rumors start?" And he goes, they think they know everything. But I believe that he may have pitched it in a meeting. So I don't know if they have an office leak or something. I have no idea, but I didn't know anything about it, and everybody thought I was working them or hiding the fact and denying stuff. But no, 100%. I was reading it just like everybody else. And people before that were coming up going, "We heard about you going into the Hall of Fame." Like, me? No, maybe the Brood, but not this trip or anything. I haven't heard anything. I think I would have heard something. I mean, I would like.
I would think, I would hope if you were being inducted into the Hall of Fame, you'd know beforehand instead of an announcement appearing on Raw or SmackDown. You'd be like, I'm sorry, what's happening?
Yeah, but I watched it, so I guess technically I was in a video in the fire coming up, and
Yes.
they gave me a couple name drops a couple times, so I was there in spirit.
How do you feel about that? Because you're from the Attitude Era, the era that you would find Beanie Babies with the Brood logo on it or Stone Cold Steve Austin logo. That's a time that I don't think we'll ever see again in professional wrestling, where I could go to a gas station and see a WWF product anywhere. It was like the thing. How do you feel? Because you said people are still name dropping you, bringing up the Brood, bringing up your entrance, your music. Like, this is something I don't think you'll ever forget, because the questions I'm asking most likely have been asked to you a million times over, but yet that's the love we have for you. How do you feel about that?
Uh, Blessed and humbled because I travel every weekend. I'm doing shows Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I'm here training during the week, Monday through Thursday. But I still can't, even living around here, they kind of know you, but they'll be like, "Hey, Gangrel," but going through the airports, TSA people, they're still coming up saying hello, love the Brood, big fans, and so it's humbling. I would never get tired of it. I imagine if it stopped happening, I'd be like, "Well, what's going on?"
Yeah.
I thank the people when they come up and say that. I go, "Thank you." It's very flattering and it's humbling, and I love it, man. And I love pro wrestling. Like I said, I owe it everything. It's done everything for me. I have nothing negative about it. I knew what I was getting into. I knew the journey was the jewel. There was no jewel or a pot of gold or anything at the end of the rainbow. The journey was the jewel. That's what I was taught by Boris Malenko, and that's what I live by.
Outstanding. And now I bet you've been burned a few times by your entrance. Edge has been using the Brood, the Gangrel entrance for so long now, based off of what you came up with. How many times were you burned? Like, there must have been a million.
Oh, we froze.
Are you still there?
How many times was burned? I was actually only, yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah.
I was actually only burnt once. That was not the original run. It's when I came back and tagged with Viscera in a handicap match against Undertaker in like 2000 and I don't know, 4 or 5 or something like that, or 3. I haven't times. Like I said, I huffed too much super glue between the super glue, the chair shots, and whatever else the Attitude Era had to offer. My brain is something. But when I came back and tagged with Viscera, when JBL and Orlando Jordan, they kind of brung us in. He brung all these people in to take on the Undertaker when he's shooting them. They wanted me to come up, do the entrance, and we did a rehearsal right before the show was supposed to start. Did a dry run with the fire, but they made the elevator really small because Rey Mysterio was popping up out of the elevator now. So they did a slow hand crank elevator thing, and it was smaller. So they didn't anticipate for the backdraft of the flames coming in. So when they lit the flames, instead of them, the other one was like 3 foot by 4 foot or something. It was pretty big lift. It was a big scissor lift. So the flames would burn up. This one, it was so small of an area that the flames sucked down and they sucked down in on me, and I had burnt all the skin off my arm. I remember like just sitting there going, "Man, this is really hot," and the flames are coming in. Like, what's going on? And then I finally I did a Rey Mysterio and got really athletic like for an old man and jumped up out of the elevator, and I was holding all my skin like here at the end of my wrist, and I had to train. He cut it off, cleaned it up, and put some dressing on it, and I threw the white puffy shirt on and went to work, and then got home the next day and saw a specialist and started getting skin grafts and stuff like that. But that was the only time, though.
Oh my Lord. And as a child going to the Monday Night Raws and the SmackDowns, I was always a little sad when they didn't have the ramp, because the ramp is how you had your fire entrance. Then they would, for when you didn't have a ramp, they'd light candles and you would like duck down into the fog and come up. And as a child, I'd be like, "No, that is not the Gangrel entrance." I was so upset. But as an adult, I understand, the ramp in that fire must have cost a lot of money to bring from town to town.
Yeah, they carried the lift and the elevator and all that. So it really depended upon the size of the arena and how much of the staging and the ramp they could fit in there and stuff. So, yeah, so a lot of times you're correct. I had to crouch down. As much as you were disappointed, I was, because it was really hard to get down in that. Stop slow. I'm like, oh God, you know, and start walking. But it was still either way, because the music would cover up. But the fire was amazing. The music was awesome. Having Edge and Christian as partners was tremendous. It was just a perfect storm, and I was blessed with it all to be there in that moment at that time in professional wrestling. So it was awesome.
Now, was Jim Johnston the one who wrote the Brood, your music, and then eventually the Brood's music?
Yes, yes, yes.
And that's still a banger. Like that song is still in my head forever. And the head bobbing and the spitting, because as any child from that time, we had backyard wrestling federations, and people wanted to be Gangrel just to spit the blood, which was Kool-Aid in our backyard. And so people dressing up as you, my friends doing it, was always a great memory. So you coming out doing that every single week was just outstanding to see. So with your music, though, obviously you still love that music.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to that music. There was like backmasking in there, so like I buried, like the whispering and stuff like that. It was, if you played it backwards, it would say "I buried Paul, walk with me," something like that, you know, of that nature. So because he was a big Beatles fan, he asked me what I thought for music, what was I feeling, and I said, well, there's this cool song by the Toadies, Possum Kingdom. So if you listen to Possum Kingdom, you'll hear all that whoosh, that same like stuff you hear with the entrance of my music. And I hear the beats just speed it up and slow down in different areas. Other people don't, but I do. But it really, to me, comes from Possum Kingdom. So
Wow.
from there. But the entrance itself was more of a Kiss tribute, because Vince Russo loved Kiss. I love Kiss. So a lot of that was like tributed to Kiss.
So Vince Russo clearly is a big proponent of yours because, eventually in the Royal Rumble 1999, you take on X-Pac for the European Championship. And if you look at that card, the undercard before we get to the Rumble matches, it's all corporation members, which was Vince McMahon's group, versus DX members. But Gangrel finds himself in a match against X-Pac. And to me, that was outstanding because that really, in my brain, showed like, oh shit, like Gangrel is somebody to not mess with. And here you are going for a championship. Was there ever a design for you to become champion at any point?
I think, well, I know for a fact I was supposed to win it that night, but there was some disciplinary actions, and I was innocent, but I got caught up in the middle of some stuff, and it didn't happen.
Interesting. Can you talk about the things that happened that day that ruined your chances?
Big scandal where somebody taped somebody, one of the, I don't know, pyro, I don't know who it was, a backstage guy he was taping people trying to sell him a bunch of steroids or something, like, and it was this big thing, and everybody had to get disciplined. It was, even went in there and met with the guy, and I happened to be one of the guys who was in there, even though I didn't do anything or whatnot, but I just got caught up in all that. So,
Wow. That
yeah, it was
is
weird stuff. It was weird. It was so kabuki-ish. It was so
that's
weird.
so weird because I remember hearing stories about Sean Stasiak using a tape recorder practicing promos, and then people said that he was recording conversation.
You froze up. What's that?
I said Sean Stasiak at one point was let go by the WWF for recording conversations in cars, but he was saying he was using it to, practice
Oh,
promos.
oh yeah, I think he did something. He was Sean was a little eccentric, and he got ridden a little hard. So yeah, he was a little bit different than everybody else. But it wasn't Sean. This was like a backstage person or something.
Wow.
And it was, I don't know, it was like some kind of weird sting or something.
That's so crazy. Like talking to my shoulder right here. Like, oh, is that where your microphone's hidden? That's so bizarre.
Weird, because I was like, oh, what does this do? Will it just help you with an injury and stuff? But yeah, I was just caught up in the wrong group. But I mean, I can honestly say that I was innocent and cleared, but it did cost me winning the European title that night.
Damn that person, because I was all excited.
Oh damn me! I shouldn't have even went in the room. So
Oh, how did you know? How do you know that you're being in this weird situation of being set up for something you're not even doing?
yeah, yeah.
So it's a long time ago, so whatever. It's just one of those moments of like, wait, what? A couple more questions before we wrap this up. Kevin Thorne is a character I was always like, why isn't Gangrel here with him? Because Kevin Thorne was pretty much just like, hey, I'm Gangrel, but not really. And yet here he was. Was there ever conversation of you coming into ECW and joining Kevin Thorne and Ariel?
Well, yes, I was hired. They hired me back and said that I was going to come out and start, and then Kevin Thorne and Ariel were going to join me. And they hired me, and I said, okay, cool. I went home and watched the TV, and then I seen Kevin Thorne come out, and I go, oh. So I called, answer, and then about I don't know, 6 months later, I get a call saying, hey, it never really worked out, the Kevin thing and this and that. So we're going to let you go. So that's all that happened there. But it was supposed to be me, and they were going to come in, but they used Kevin first for whatever reason, and it just didn't work out. So
you got paid for 6 months to sit at home?
I did, yes. And 8 months the time prior to that.
So in reality, you must think not being on TV, but you're being paid.
They hired me back and said, hey, you're going to tag with Viscera. You guys going to be a tag team. And I never heard from them again. And then they let me go. And then like a couple months later, they hired me back again to do ECW. And I never heard from them. 6 months later, 7 months later, whatever it is, they let me go.
Cashing those checks.
But to me, it bothered me, though, because I was getting paid. And that's great and everything. But I wanted to wrestle. I just love wrestling. So, yeah, I was busy in Europe doing things and stuff like that. So I just went right back to Europe and or running a school somewhere. So I always land on my feet and been very blessed with wrestling in my life and able to do it. So I'm super happy guy on my journey, man.
I was gonna say, every time I look at your Twitter account, you're always in an airport somewhere. I recently saw that you had so many delays. It was upsetting. I was like, oh no, Gangrel.
It took me 14 hours to get to New Jersey to work Bo James for ISP. I literally walked in while Bo was going to the ring. I go, where am I? They go, oh, your opponent's going to the ring.
Dude,
So
that's when you're on the airplane putting your boots on and your shirt.
If I would have been thinking about it, I probably would have put it on in the car going there because that was a quick dress to get out there while they were cutting a promo. But I made it, and I didn't miss the show.
Oh,
and
good.
The next town, and then the next town, and then got home Monday morning. And right
God, two more questions. One is, what's your relationship like with Edge and Christian now? Because they're both in different federations, so everyone thinks if you're in different federations, you don't talk to each other. But obviously, you mentioned earlier, you talked to Edge about this WrestleMania entrance, so there's obviously communication.
Oh yeah, I talk. I mean, once a month or a couple times, I'll send Edge a text or something. Adam, he answers it right back immediately. Christian, I don't talk to as frequent, but I was just with him 2 weekends ago at Squared Circle Expo in Indianapolis, Indiana, and we were right next to each other, so we had really good conversations. And we're gonna, I think he's going to come in and possibly do a seminar for CCW in the future. Here, we just got to line it up. So, good relationships. I talk more frequently to Edge, but still, it's a good relationship with either. So
very good. And now let's talk about CCW one more time. Now, if someone wants to be trained by you, how does this work? How does this happen? What do they have to do?
They just contact CCW. There's a phone number there or on the website, and they come in for an interview, an appointment. They check the school out, and we show them. They observe the first class if they want and see if it's for them, and then they go back in the office and work with Dan or Nelio, one of the two owners, and they figure out whatever they're going to do, whatever their payments are, payment plans, or whatever they decide, whatever route it is they go, and then they send them back out to me, and then they're with me for the next lifetime.
Oh my. A lifetime of Gangrel.
I don't believe in training. A lot of people do like 12-week programs, and they cram everything and they ship them out. I take it more of the route that I was offered. It's a family type of thing. There's no time limit. Everybody trains at different levels and at different speeds, and so there's no rush. As long as you show up and you're willing to train and you're being a positive and not a negative to the class and yourself, then you're always welcome.
Outstanding. Well, join up with CCW. Go to their website, check them out, because you'll be trained by the one and only Gangrel, the man who's being set on fire constantly at events, it seems, at one time, and then going to airports and they're treating him like crap, making him sit in airport seats all day long. Bastards. But I want to say it's been an honor and a privilege. I wish my voice was intact, but it is not. But I am honored. I am privileged to talk to you today. I've been Steve Fall. He is Gangrel. Go check out CCW. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.